So we're going to go over structure of HTML. When we're working with HTML and pages on a site, we are using a format that is an old format, and it comes from newspapers. So being familiar with the terms of a newspaper is going to be super helpful. So the first one is headline. So we're going to be familiar with using headlines and looking at headlines when we start looking at HTML. Pages also have text. This is true of newspapers, this is true of HTML. Body copy that supports the subject matter of whatever topic you're working on in your page. Images, right? So when we looked at anatomy of a page, we looked at hero shots. Typically newspapers would have that too, and you can see in this slide how they have the iPad as well in there. So we can see how this printed format translates into digital format. Subheadings, you can see that down there in the blue here. Those are typically used to pull attention in as well, and that our digital versions often have a similar structure, right? So we're looking at the comparison between print and digital here, and we're going to be referring back to those terms as we move forward. You may also, I know you have used Word, right? So if we're looking at the Word menu up here in the top left, you can see that you're familiar with working with heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, with main headings and subheadings and formatting of information using Word, right? And we're going to be doing that same type of thing with Dreamweaver. So all the stuff we just looked at ties into HTML page structure. So this is a very simple HTML page here that showcases you some of those terms. So every page that you're looking at in HTML or on a web starts and ends with an HTML tag. And everything that's visible on a web page starts and ends with an opening and closing body tag in orange. And then you can see headlines, right, with the H1 tag. You can see subheadings with H2. And you can see paragraph text in the P tag, right? So newspaper, Word, all those feed into similar type of structure. Tags are typically made up of 2 different elements, an opening tag, which is indicated, and a closing tag. And these are indicated by angle brackets in the white, and then typically a letter or combination of letters that will semantically kind of indicate what type of content those tags are enclosing. The difference between opening and closing tags is just simply this little backslash here. Otherwise, the character and the structure is the same. And these enclose content and control how that content behaves or maybe looks. So we have our left angle bracket, right angle bracket, and the / indicating that it's a closing tag. This is an example of an attribute. There is a mistake in this slide, and that usually I would have you guys point that out, but I'll tell you since we're on Zoom. These should match. So if we're looking at this opening tag here, that's actually an A, and the closing tag is a P. So this would actually not work, but it does get us to talking about what an attribute is. And an attribute is something that you can enclose in an opening tag that will give more information about an element. And we'll use that a little bit later on today. HTML pages are also made up of 2 different sections. We're looking at this slide here, and we can see that we have, our opening and closing HTML tags, our opening and closing body tag that contain all the visible content. And then we also have a new tag in here called head, opening head, close head, that will contain information about the page that isn't necessarily visible, but will inform inform the structure of the page, but also inform how things work, and also include the title of the page. So this tag here, opening and closing tag, this will be what shows up in the browser bar and also in any bookmark that you do on a page. So all that code we just looked at will result in this. And you can see the title of the page here. Whatever content you put in there is going to show up here in the browser and also in any tab or window. And then this is our visible content. So again, a closer look at the body tag. Our body tag is going to contain anything that is visible in the main browser window. And this is also an example of how you can nest tags together. So we have our opening and closing body tag here that are going to contain multiple tags that will define what the user visually sees. Right, so that is the visible content that you will have from this simple code. And another word for tag is element. So if you hear HTML tag, HTML element, those are synonyms. Those are the same thing. Tags will come in pairs. Opening tags denote the start of your content, and then closing tags denote the end, which means you could have multiple types of content within a page. And then opening tags can carry attributes, which will tell us more about the content and will also provide additional functionality, which we'll do a little bit later when we create a link. So basically, HTML is not complicated. It is knowing the tags, knowing the tags that you can use and what they do, where they go. So it's kind of like learning a language a little bit, but less complicated. Okay, so that's our closing slide of that. I'm going to go to Dreamweaver, and I would like you to do the same. And in Dreamweaver, when you make a new document, I'd like you to make a new document. You're gonna click on New, and you should see a dialog box that looks like this, and you're gonna choose HTML. Typically, you'll get to choose which HTML you want to use. Go ahead and use HTML5, it's the latest version. Click Create, and then you'll see something pop up like this. If you see the top here of this, where it says Code, Split, and Design, right now I'm looking at this in Code View, and some of this should look familiar, right? I've got my HTML tags on lines 2 and 10, opening and closing. I've got body tags on 8 and 9, which there's nothing in between them yet. I've got my head tag here, my title tag here. Notice that when I click on the opening tag, Dreamweaver is kind to you and wants to help you, and so finds the closing tag for you. So you can see the opening and closing of that. If you're with me, you can go ahead and select that untitled document, type something in there. If you're not with me, we're going to pause and do Q&A in a minute or two. So we'll catch everyone up then. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and add something on line 9 here, just to have something in here so I can show you what your page would look like. This is strictly code view. I can look at it in strictly design view. Look how pretty. There's my content, right? So all that code, the only thing that shows up is everything is the content between the body tags. You can also look at it in split view, which is really nice because you can see the code next to it, and then you can see the visual result. So if I add something here, you'll see it pop up in the code and also in the page next to you. Okay, back to Dreamweaver sharing. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so you're gonna wanna save this document. So how to save it is you're going to go up under File and Save As. And my recommendation is that you put this in a folder by itself. And I'm going to do a new folder. And when you name this stuff, please make a note that you should be using all lowercase. You should be using no special characters like numbers and stuff. And if you do want to name files with multiple words, you can do like underscores here, like I've got going under on line 12. You can run it all together like camel case, which looks like this on line 13. And you don't want to have any special characters or anything in that. And that goes for everything that you name on the web. So go ahead and save your document. I'm saving it as Melissa test page. Yeah, okay. So if you did that, if you did a save as, you might see 2 tabs up here. I'm just going to close my untitled one because I don't want that anymore, and I'm going to delete it later. And then here's my new file, right? Melissa's page, note the underscores. I also misspelled page, but I'll fix that later. Okay, once you have that saved, you can actually preview it in your browser. There's a couple of ways you can do that. The first is you can do File and Real-Time Preview. And you can pick the browser that you want to pick. I'll just pick Google Chrome for now. Right, and then you can see what it would look like in the browser. Cool, right? That's your first web page, maybe. The second thing you can do is you can actually find the file on your hard drive. So you can go to Finder, go ahead and find the file that you just made, which I am going to do. Right, so here is my test site folder, and there's the page I made in there. I can actually just grab this thing and pull it down to a browser, and it will open that file in the browser. Oh, it did do it. Sorry, it was just minimized. Okay, so you can just open it straight through the browser. You don't have to use the Dreamweaver preview. Sometimes the Dreamweaver preview is a little weird and gives you an error, so that's one way that you can do it.